I don't know who the Boilermakers are.
Stop. Foul. Shooting two.
I don't know who the Boilermakers are anymore. So great win for Purdue, 71-67 win over Tennessee. Sorry to all Purdue fans. We're late on this recap. I was at a Jonas Brothers concert. Carter was at musical. Do you want to tell them what musical?
Yeah, it was Mrs. Doubtfire, and it slapped too, by the way. For anyone in the Michigan area, or if they see Mrs. Doubtfire coming through on tour for the musical, absolutely slapped.
That's lovely. I was going to make a joke about you looking like Mrs. Doubtfire. I'll just move on.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Purdue's really good. We waited on this so that we could both watch this because, again, where we were last night, we were monitoring, but we didn't watch. We went back and watched. I'm excited to talk about this game. Here's my general thing on Purdue right now. I don't think Purdue's playing great. I don't think they're playing great overall. I don't think they're playing their A-plus game collectively. I think every game right now, they're getting two guys to show up. And then a third, zips in and makes a good play here and there. But really, two guys are showing up. And it's been a different two guys in a couple different games. The constant is that Zach Edey is the best player in the country, and nobody has an answer for him. That's the takeaway from this entire Maui Invitational is there's all these nasty teams. It's the most loaded field ever to me. And at the end of the day, a Purdue team that's not even playing their best ball is going to skate to potentially a championship because Zach Edey is that good.
Yeah, Zach Edey basically approaches every single game, and he's like, okay, we got a roster. I don't know how many scholarship players on the roster. Let's just call it 12 to 13. I'm going to get you 25 and 10 minimum from the moment I step these size 27s or whatever he wears onto the court. If I can get one of y'all to join me or get two of y'all to halfway join me, we're going to have a chance to win basketball games, and we're going to actually be able to play a good enough defense as well to win basketball games. And it's crazy to me because I think that as we had an episode the other day where we were like, who are the two best teams in the country or something like that. And I think we mentioned, was it Arizona and UConn? Is that who we had up there?
Yeah, Arizona and UConn, and then the winner of Maui.
And then winner of Maui. Okay. Arizona, I think, should be in that conversation. But to me, there's two teams in the country right now that are so good that I don't even think they're playing their best basketball, and they're still the one of the three best teams in the country. UConn, to me, is not playing their best basketball, and they're missing one of their best players. And they just went into MSG and knocked off Texas, and they were able to knock off Indiana as well pretty comfortably, not playing their best game. It's even more impressive for Purdue in my eyes because they're coming to Maui where, if you look at it, you feel like they need to be on their A game with the level of competition that they're playing, and they're still able to win basketball games. So it's like, if I'm a Purdue fan, I'm not even looking at the fact that, I'm not even looking at the negatives, I feel like, because my team right now is not playing their best basketball, and we're running into Maui and we find ourselves in the championship game. And that should feel really good.
Yeah.
Last thing. Imagine if they win. Imagine you get the same Purdue game today that they've had the past three games and they win. Literally, Purdue came with maybe their B minus game as a team, and came to the greatest MTE field of all time and walked away with the title. That should scare everyone in the country, and also as a Purdue fan, make you feel extremely confident about your team.
100%. Yeah, it's wildly impressive. Honestly, I hope they can pull it off against Marquette just so that we can actually definitively talk about it. And the Big Ten needs a win like that. On top of this, I know it's going to be the ongoing thing, blah, blah, blah. Matt Painter just won his 30th straight non-conference regular season game. He's a total wagon. It's absurd. And the fact that just happened, and at the same time, there's still this narrative that you have to worry about Purdue in the NCAA tournament is so absurd to me, dude. When you just line up all the games, I get there's different pressure when it's an elimination game and your season's on the line. And I get Matt Painter hasn't been at his best. He's had mistakes. He's had rotational stuff when you get to March. All that's true. At the same time, if you just listed out every non-conference game Purdue has played in the last 4 seasons, including the NCAA tournament games mixed in with everything in the non-conference, Purdue's the best team in the country. Like it's this weird little rhythmic thing that they've been losing in March and this dominant in November. And I'm never, ever going to buy that it's something magical about March that Painter doesn't have. Like this team's that dominant. This program's that dominant in the Zach Edey era. They should be taken seriously even when we get to March this year. And I hope they will, because they are that good. A couple players we need to hone in on here. Starting with two guys that we had loud criticisms for after the last episode. They responded to the call. Fletcher Loyer was insane tonight. 27 points, 3 for 10 from 3. He didn't even shoot it great, but man, the kid was aggressive. He had one less shot in this game, 18 attempts. He had one less shot attempt than Zach Edey and Braden Smith had combined. We've never seen Fletch this aggressive. What happened?
You know what? I don't really understand. I think one of the theories that I loved from you the other day on Twitter was like it's a Space Jam thing, and Braden was like, I think Fletch needs to pick me up here. You could have what I've been on the whole season and go be aggressive and see what happens. And they're just going back and forth. But it was impressive to see out of Fletcher. The game was impressive without the whole like going into what the shooting totals were. The fact that he was aggressive at all should just feel good for Purdue fans. And also I would have had to somewhat, I don't know what the word would be. I would have to somewhat investigate anyone who would have came before that game and be like, oh, this might be the toughest, most physical game of the year so far, maybe in college basketball for the season. And the player that was stepped up the most and that had like the most kind of dog in them was Fletcher Loyer, especially after what has transpired. God, sorry, TJ, transpired this season so far. I really don't understand it. I can't pinpoint to a reason like where this Fletcher Loyer performance came from.
Yeah, it just, nothing on that made sense on paper. It just didn't. But that's also why, like, okay, we were quick to write off Fletch. And I think it's okay to stand by why we were so concerned about Fletch, because I still adamantly believe that Fletch did not put enough work in this summer. It just is what it is. Like, I think you look at his body, you look at his speed, everything a player's supposed to get better at as they grow with age in college. Fletch didn't. He just didn't.
Yeah. Does his jumper look flat to you too?
A little bit. I don't know what that is.
Like, it's a little. To me, I want to go back and actually look at some last year games. It looks like a little bit more line drivey this year.
Yeah. No, I agree. But with that said, tonight was a great reminder of why it might not matter if Fletch never gets stronger or quicker. Like, I think you and I were like having hopes that Fletch could be like a top 10, 15 player one day in the Big Ten, right? I kept comparing him to Kyle Guy. Can he have a breakout like that? He's not going to have a breakout like that without getting stronger and faster and quicker and more athletic. It's not going to happen. But Fletch can do what Fletch did last night. He's always been capable of that. This is the Fletch we saw in December of last year, where one of our favorite terms, Cart, he has some shit to him. And Fletch has that. Even when it goes away for a couple games, there's never a doubt in my mind that Fletch has some shit to him.
Yeah, we saw it I have never, ever doubted the fact that man has some shit to him, because literally the first episode of College Hoops to Go, when we went and watched them play at Nebraska, I don't care, throw away that it was at Nebraska. Nebraska had Purdue on the ropes, and Fletch was like, nah, like I'm about to take over. Even to Michigan State last year at the Breslin Center. Like, yes, Zach Edey had his performance, but Fletch was at heads in the Breslin Center. Like, he has that type of what you just said. He has that type of shit to him. So it was, it was weird, like you said, to see what his play was like this season so far,
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, when he's capable of that, you want to see it more often. You want to see it with more consistency. And it would be frustrating, I think, to be a Purdue fan and like have to deal with games where he's totally non-aggressive when he's capable of this. But hopefully this is a good moment that gets his season on track and gets him going. The other guy I want to give some love to quickly, Trey Kaufman-Renn. We called out that it wasn't working, right? Like, he couldn't play next to Edey. He had 8 and 8 in this game, approaching a double-double. You're looking like you're going to not agree with me on this.
I'm not going to agree with you on this, because what we said was that we weren't as disappointed in Trey Kaufman-Renn. We said that he would be better if as basically Edey's backup, or Edey, the 5 when Edey's on the floor. And to me, in this game, he did a lot of his work when Edey was in foul trouble, and it was Kaufman-Renn, and I believe he played with First a lot of the time in this game. I thought that he did good work when, when he wasn't in there with Edey. I know he did have some good moments with him in there, but I think he did his best work when Edey was out of the game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we're right on the role conversation. I just want to give him credit for actually delivering on it a little bit. He was productive.
Yeah, true.
Okay, two things we got to talk about beyond this. People, I don't know. I think people will be honest, at least with the first one. Braden Smith, kind of a no-show. I mean, he was aggressive, like hunting shots. He had 9 shot attempts, just wasn't going in for him. Only 1 3-pointer. I'd like to see him shoot more threes. I think his shot's for real, and he can get those shots more than he does. But only 1 assist in this game. Tennessee's defense is obviously stellar. In my prop bets thing, I was all over Braden again, thinking he has turned the corner and he was there and he wasn't going to get spooked by this. The fact that Fletcher was so good and Braden was so not good in this game is just baffling to me. What did you make of Braden's performance?
Yeah, Braden was just off. He was just wild. He was wild to me in the game. He just never really seemed to get into the flow. I also think he deferred a little bit too much in my eyes, and I think people might differ on this and be like he's deferring because Fletcher kind of had it going, or Edey, as always, had it going. But to me, I don't think there should be any games this year where Braden's deferring to anybody, even Zach Edey in this case. Like, I think Braden is that good and he's that talented. And the fact that he was deferring to others, I think just kind of he kind of approached the game deferring to others too, which was a little bit strange to me, in my personal opinion. So I think that Braden needs to, still realize that he's the second best player on Purdue. Like, it's not Fletch. He's the second best player on Purdue. He needs to be aggressive. He shouldn't be deferring to anybody on this team. And this team needs him to be him. Like, they need to depend on Braden every single game to show up. And he has the ability to be a guy that shows up every single day to put up stats. So it was disappointing for me, but mostly because I think so highly of Braden. I don't think he should have no-show performances like this. I'm not saying he's got to go for damn near triple doubles every game, but he can't be having just. Yesterday was a no-show out of him.
Yeah, it was.
But they won the game against one of the great Tennessee teams in the country with a Braden Smith no-show.
Yeah. I mean, that's, again, I think it speaks to kind of what we were hinting at in the offseason. This team does have dudes. We just need those dudes to back us up and perform all good at once. That's what I'm waiting for. Like, we've seen it from Fletch. We've seen it from Braden. I've seen flashes from Colvin. We've seen flashes from Lance Jones. We've seen flashes from TKR. Can I get all these dudes to do it at once so I can victory lap that this team's really good? Like, why do only one guy that's not Zach Edey show up every game? It's weird. Lance Jones, let's continue the conversation. Goodness, there's a whole lot of promotional campaign circles on the internet praising this guy for how important and how good he was last night. Look, Ant's got the clips of there was one specific film play that he was in Dalton Connect's hip and forced a turnover that Fletcher forced, by the way, digging down and forcing it. Like, great job. Lance Jones, yes, he's a good defender. That stuff happens. Could we also cut up the clips where Dalton Connect scored on him? Could we do that too? Because it happened a lot in this game. Dalton Connect had a great game. And look, you can call us box score readers. You can say we're not educated on how we're having this conversation. I don't give a damn. 1 for 4 in this game, 1 for 3 from 3. The sports books keep giving us gifts that it's plus money that he won't hit 2 threes. I've been cashing it every single game of the season. He had 4 turnovers to 2 assists. He finished with 4 points in this game. I thought he was a non-factor again. They're going to say he was a huge factor on Connect, but again, Connect had a good offensive game.
Yeah, no, he was a non-factor. Like, he was, like, it to me, the best part of the rewatch was I was monitoring Twitter and I was monitoring, what people were talking about this game, and all there was like, oh man, Lance Jones did this. Lance Jones really made it tough on Connect. He didn't at all. Connect had a very efficient game, and also in the second half, Connect was just looking at him, and I think Connect just missed shots. It wasn't necessarily Lance Jones doing anything to affect those shots. I just think Lance Jones isn't good. I don't. And I feel bad saying that because I think he could be like a good role player, or good for like what he needs to do, or like a good bench piece to play like David Jenkins level minutes to put it back to Purdue last season. But like acting like this guy is such a game changer and a godsend is just, I don't see it.
Yeah, I think Purdue fans, he's one of those guys where, like, if you were asking everyone to make a list of the best players in the Big Ten, Purdue fans would be like, oh, he's like fringe top 25, probably 20, 25 area. And all the rest of us would be like, he's 60th. Like,
right. Like I love my dog Craig Bowers. Like I love my 3-wood, and I'm not a good golfer. So like a 3-wood, if I get one good club, Greg, you see me play, the 3-wood's my club. I mean, it's nothing great, but it's the one I actually hit and can do some things with. Love him, like my 3-wood. That man tried to tell me he would take Jaden Akins over Lance Jones, and I truly believe that you went and asked 50 Purdue fans, they would take Lance Jones over Jaden Akins, and that is just a objectively wrong take that cannot be argued.
yeah, it's insanity. Like it just truly is. If you're praising all the little things Lance Jones does, then you don't watch other teams that have guys who do little things and impact the box score. Like that's the
and
thing.
On top of that, it shows up.
There are a lot of guys in this sport that do the little things. You can have good players that do the little things that also like hit their threes and are it's just great. Like the bar is so low for what's a good game from Lance Jones. Like at this point, I'm convinced he could go 0 for 6 in a game with like 1 steal and 6 turnovers, and Purdue fans will come in here and be like, love how he got after it defensively today. He really was. He was making some stuff happen offensively. Like, what are we doing here? The bar.
Did you see that dig in the post by Lance Jones? We don't get that last year.
The bar's just too low, man. All right. Final thing as far as recap goes. We didn't talk much about Tennessee. I'm sorry, Tennessee fans, but people that discover this channel are annoyed that we lead with the Big Ten teams always. But Connect and Gainey, you were adamant that these guys were like the team. That's the new Tennessee team, right? Those are the only 2 guys that had double digits in this game. Vescovi, 0 for 3 from 3, finished with 8 points. Josiah Jordan-James, 34 really empty minutes in the box score. They had to go to the bench a lot. Like they went small. Edey, I mean, he fouled out in 13 minutes. That definitely changed the game. Ziegler was horrible off the bench. He couldn't hit a shot. Like, are you still adamant that this Tennessee team is going to be fine? They're a good basketball team, but it all runs through the new guys?
I think they'll still be a fine basketball team, but I think like, and sorry once again because I gotta relate it to the Michigan State thing. You know how a lot of Michigan State is, it's not the guys coming back, it's the new guys raising the ceiling of the team and having you feel good about that. Somewhat is the same situation with Tennessee in my eyes. I think once they fully just go all in on connecting Gainey, and then you get solid like role type things from the other guys, the returners on this team. I think that's how Tennessee truly reaches their ceiling. That's still a really good basketball team. They check really well. Also, yesterday's game's also just kind of hard to really judge them off of. I mean, you can, but at the same time, like there were so many fouls and free throws in this game. It was just like there was no continuity. It made it hard rotation wise because every single person was in foul trouble like within the first 10 minutes of the first half. So it's just like it's tough to really judge them, but I'm not like selling my Tennessee stock at all. I think that's still a really good basketball team, but they got to go all in on the connect Gainey thing. Like that's why you went out and got them, I think, and you need to go all in on that because Ziegler just doesn't look the same as he did before his injury, and Vescovi is show up or no show each game so far. So yeah, I think they just need to go all in on Gainey and connect. And those guys are so good, by the way. Like really
Connect's insane. He's so good. Yeah, I feel fine about Tennessee. Nothing changed for me in this game. I think they're going to be really, really good. I think they're the best team in the SEC. And Purdue's just a wagon, man. And when you play as physical as Tennessee does, you're going to foul a ton. Like the reason this was a foul show is because there were a ton of fouls. I know.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, no. I want to make that clear as well. I wasn't saying like the refs were the refs got to call. They're fouling. You got to call it. Were there a couple that are like super physical and they let those go and then call the touch fouls? Like maybe a consistency issue, maybe one might say. But the reason they were calling so many fouls is because guys were fouling.
Yeah, it just was what it was. We got chirped on Twitter. Apparently someone's sending our show to Fletcher Loyer and feels really great about that. Like, hey, these guys are dogging you. Like, shut him up. He really let's give the game ball to him, man. Like you earned the victory. Pat yourself on the back for sending a podcast clip, trashing a player to a player. What a great, brave thing of you.
Yeah. I hope that's not a grown man.
Just insane. Maybe it worked. It might have worked, but goodness.
Okay, but I mean, okay, to comment on that, I said it on Twitter. Fletcher was playing bad, so like, I'm not gonna come on here and praise Fletcher when he's playing bad. He wasn't playing well, so I said he wasn't playing well. If you ask Fletcher if he was playing well, he would say he wasn't playing well. So it's like, if I'm not just gonna come on here and just praise Fletcher for not playing well if he wasn't playing well.
Yeah, just fan stuff, pat guys on the back when they don't deserve it. And hey, guess what? We just gave Fletcher a bunch of praise because he deserved it. So if you're gonna go through our archives, watch our show, and cut it up and send it to Fletcher, make sure you do that again today too, sir, because that's what we do. We're an objective basketball podcast.